Hello everyone, this is Ankur Buddhiraja, an assistant professor at the Department of Management, JIMS Greater Noida, in the subject Production and Operations Management, which is BBA 303 of IP University syllabus. I shall be today covering the system perspective of Production and Operations Management as a topic of the syllabus. Before we connect Production and Operations department or functional area to the system perspective, we have to first understand what a system is all about. Moving on, we will now talk about system and its definition and concept. Now, before giving you the definition, I shall be taking up an example that will make the understanding easier for my learners. Now take up a family, and I will call that family a system. Take up a classroom, or let us say a college or a school, that's a system. Now what a system is composed of and how does it work? A system is a group of interrelated and interdependent elements called subsystems, which are connected to each other in such a way that no single subpart can work effectively and efficiently in isolation. In simpler words, if I take up my family as a system, so in the family, my parents, my kids, my wife, and me myself, all of us are subparts of a total system called family, and we are interrelated and interdependent on each other for our survival, sustenance, and smooth ongoing of life. We cannot work always in isolation or independently without the support of other family members. Similarly, if I talk about a system, any system, whether big or small, whether rigid or flexible, has to have some subparts which are interrelated to each other, interdependent on each other for successful functioning and survival of the total system. Moreover, every system has some goals to be attained. Now, I talk about an organization as a system, so it has marketing department, HR department, finance department, IT department, research and development department, etc. All of these departments are subparts or subsystems of the total system called organization, and we all know that they are interrelated with each other for smooth functioning of the total system called the enterprise or the organization. Moreover, as I said, every system has some goals to attain. So every organization which is called a system has some predetermined goals and objectives to be attained, but these are to be attained only when all the subsystems work in a coordinated way with each other. Moving forward, every system is a part of a larger system called the suprasystem. Now these are certain terms which every learner who is learning the system concept in general has to understand. Now if I talk about my family or my house as a system, it is surrounded with neighborhood as an environment which is called suprasystem. That neighborhood also has some impact on my house and family. Similarly, we have some impact on neighborhood. In the same manner or same fashion, every organization also has a suprasystem surrounding it, and that's called the environment. In simpler terms, it is known as the business environment, and we know the different parts of a business environment affect the functioning of every business. So a system is a part of a larger system called the suprasystem, which is usually the environment surrounding the organization or the system. Now moving towards our connection of production and operations department with the system perspective. So therefore, a production system also is a system consisting of interrelated parts including inputs, machines, processes, people, and output. Look at the diagram given on the screen in this slide. We will understand why operations management or production management is called a system. if we just see, there is a set of inputs which is one subsystem including labor, material, capital, money. Then there is another subsystem, major subsystem called processing, which is there in the box again, which has processes, inventory control, operations planning and control, material and capacity planning and management, etc. So this subsystem gets involved in functioning of the system. And third very important one is again output subsystem, consisting of goods and services. Then these subsystems get affected by other subsystems in the production department, which are quality management system, maintenance management system, process improvement system. So if we just see individual rectangles given in the diagram in this chart, we will understand that each of them has some importance and some role to play, so that the total production and operations department or the functional area can work smoothly. I can conclude by saying that every production and operations system is dependent upon the interplay between inputs, processes, output, and then sub processes of quality management, maintenance management, process improvement, etc. There is another subsystem in the production department, rather this subsystem is available everywhere, and that's called the human resources or laborers. Now this is a set of people who are involved in creation of output from input, or in other words, who are involved and engaged in processes and sub processes of converting the input into output. So therefore the total production department also has smaller parts dependent on each other and interrelated to each other. They work in a fashion where the total production department creates some output and meets its goals. Moving on, as I told you very briefly about the components of a production system, now in this slide we will talk about the details. The first component, as I said, are inputs, which are usually raw materials, components and parts, and that are not meant for ultimate use or consumption by the customers. Say for example, cement, sand, sugarcane, raw cotton, etc. All of these are raw in nature and fall under the category of the input subsystem. Moving on, we have the processing subsystem. This component consists of all the processes, activities and sub-processes that help in conversion of raw material into semi-finished and finished goods. So if I talk about the processing subsystem, it usually has all the processes and activities that are engaged in conversion of input into output. Say for example, cutting, dyeing, heating, shaping, packaging, etc. All of these activities and sub-processes fall under the processing subsystem of the production system. Then we have output as the final outcome of the operations and production system. Output usually is the final outcome of all the production processes that are usually fit for final use and have value added in them. So for example, we have sugar extracted or produced from sugarcane, cotton fabric, which can be used for making material, apparels, shirts, etc., produced from raw cotton, leather shoes which are wearable and are fit for use, ultimate use, produced from raw leather, etc. So all of the final output or goods and services fall under the category of output subsystem. And last but not the least, we have people as one of the very important resources or very important subsystems of the production system. Without people and without their skills, production subsystem is difficult to operate. So people involve all those individuals at different levels who are directly or indirectly involved in the production activities and allied functions, creating output from input. Therefore, people is another subsystem. So if we quickly see, I have talked about 4 important subsystems, which are interrelated and interdependent on each other. And if we see, there is no logic of having one subsystem working independently in isolation without the support and help of other subsystems. In the same manner, in production and operations department, people will be of no use, their skills will be of no use unless and until we have the input, we have the processes and machines, and we have a goal of creating output. Similarly, output is not at all possible if we have we don't have processes and machines and input. So all of the subsystems are dependent on each other to form one total production and operation system. Now I will take up another topic called relationship of production management with other function areas. Now when I talk about relationship of production management, I already mentioned before I started with my session today that every organization and every functional area is a subsystem which is dependent upon the working of other subsystems, so that the total organizational system can work smoothly, properly and efficiently. Similarly, production management or production and operations department is dependent upon several other functional areas. Now just see the first point. There is a relationship between production management and HR department. We know the laborers, the supervisors and the human resources which are required in the production department are to be recruited suitably by the HR department. They have to be trained, remunerated and sustained or maintained in the organization by the HR department only. Therefore, the production department depends on the HR department for recruitment of suitable employees or personnel, their training and remuneration, their leave and attendance management, etc. Next is the relationship between production management and marketing department. The marketing department is in direct touch with the market trends and whatever is happening in the market. So the marketing people inform the production department about trends, customer requirements and needs, so that the production department in turn can produce the output or goods and services accordingly. In return, the production department supplies these goods and services as the output to the marketing department to be sold in the markets. So if you see, both the subsystems are interrelated and interdependent on each other. Then we have a relationship between production management and finance. We all know production requires a lot of money to buy raw materials, machinery, capital assets and packaging of output, etc. This money comes from the finance department. Therefore, production department significantly depends on the finance department for regular supply of money and capital for the purchase of raw material, assets, machinery, etc. Then we have a direct relationship between production management and information technology management or IT department, because we know the IT department helps in designing the latest and innovative product designs through the use of technology called CAD/CAM systems. Also, it is used in inventory management, and all such activities which are technical in nature have become very easy with the help of IT tools. Moreover, we can design the products and can check them with the help of IT softwares now. So if you see, all the innovative products are the result of the softwares that can test and check and create the prototype of a product before it is actually made and launched in the market. Therefore, production department is dependent upon information technology also. So moving on to the conclusion, all the function areas of an enterprise are interdependent and interrelated with each other and work together for smooth functioning of the business. We have to understand that not only production department is dependent on other functional areas, while other function areas are also interdependent on each other. This is very, very important for every learner to understand this interdependence, because the organization and its subsystems do not work in isolation and independently. They have to take support of different function areas so that the total organization can respond fruitfully and can respond effectively to the dynamism of the suprasystem called environment. And therefore, every organization is a system. With this, I finish off with my lecture. Thank you so much. I will take up further topics in the future lectures and future sessions.